Welcome to another episode with a little less energy than that first try. I'd like to introduce to you a close friend of mine. This is Michelle Shot Diva Carter.
Crowd goes wild. A lot. I think that both from an athletic performance standpoint and also a more matriarchal standpoint, you know. Like, I ain't trying to say you old. I'm just saying, you know.
Auntie Michelle.
Exactly. You've served as...
you earned your OG status.
Yeah.
Your veteran card.
100%. And you've served as a big sister to me, you know, watching me come up on the circuit.
Yeah.
And having to deal with me and my shenanigans. So thank you. Thank you. So obviously you've made a huge impact in the sport of track and field, not only in the ring, but also, you know, off the track and in the boardroom. Talk to us a little bit, obviously, about, you know, your athletic career early, coming from, you know, a family of great athletes, but also how and why you've allowed that to continue to, you know, feed and help you develop and nourish your competitive nature as it relates to making the sport of track and field better, but also improving the lives of young women in your communities.
Yeah, so that's a very loaded question. There's a lot of different little points in there. But I think overall, I was raised to always leave places and spaces better than where it was when I got there. Yeah. And I also grew up understanding that what I do isn't just for me, that we all pave the way for others that's coming behind us. And so having my dad, who is a professional athlete and Olympic medalist as well, he walked that road. So he knew what it was like to have to do something and have somebody follow behind you. But then when that person followed behind you as your kid, you take that weight a little bit more seriously. So coming into the sport, I knew to do my thing, but I also knew that I was going to open some doors for some other people coming behind me, especially at the time when I was coming pro. Yeah. Women's shot put was not the sexy thing to do. Right. It was not popular. We were not getting paid like that. It was very overlooked. So there was a lot of things that we had to fight against. Well, I'll just say that I had to fight against, had to speak up for, and had to show that, hey, we're just as important and worthy to be in these places and spaces, and let us do our thing and let us show you. But it wasn't like me begging for them to show us. I had to show them, like, hey, no, look at what we can do. Because if one could do it, I know others will come and do it. And so it's the effect of... nobody knows it's possible until someone shows that it's possible. Exactly. And so doing that, I knew that one day we will be where we're at today, where we have multiple women winning medals, getting into finals, where I sat in that position alone and it was just me and myself and Jill. And then sometimes one of us would make it, the other wouldn't make it. Before that, like, American women was not making finals in women's shot put. So I just think with my background in history and then my heart for others, I want to see these places and spaces better than where we left them. And that's why I continue to stay involved. That's why I continue to do what I do on multiple levels, because I don't want what I know and what I've experienced to end with me. I want it to keep going.
Yeah. So how do you manage that level of thinking, right? Like when you walk around with that mantle of responsibility, for most people, that's overwhelming, you know, as it relates to things, because you're self-aware in how you're going to impact the spaces you enter, right? So how do you manage that responsibility along with sustaining the motivation from a competitive standpoint? Like, obviously, you had to sustain motivation competitively in the sport of track and field, but now that you've transitioned not out of the sport, but out of the ring, right? You're learning and having to manage that, your competitive nature and that, you know, in these different spaces. How do you do that? Obviously, greatness is not, your greatness or anyone's greatness is not limited to whatever the activity is.
Yeah.
You know, we know that energy is transferable, right? So how do you do it? How did you develop the confidence? How do you continue to develop the confidence to step in these spaces?
That's the point. How do you continue to develop the confidence? Because when you have a high level skill in a particular area, you kind of tend to leave that skill and those skill sets in that area. But we're told constantly that athletes have transferable skills.
Right.
And I think people tell us that, but they fail to show us what that looks like.
Right.
And so now just trying to put words to that for myself, but then also explain it to others. So when they walk into the space, it's like, okay, this is what they mean by that. Because I think some things people think that you should get it, but sometimes you don't see it right away.
Right.
So now that I'm in these places and spaces, I pick up on the words that people tell me or describe me to me, or things that they see me do and they tell me like, oh, I like how you did this.
Right.
I'm like, okay, boom, that's a skill. Got it.
Right.
And trying to put it together. So that part of me comes from being an athlete when your coach is critiquing you and telling you what you did, good or bad, and you're shifting through the information like, okay, boom, got that. Okay, this is what I'm missing. Let me figure that part out. So for me as an athlete, I'm consistently, which can be a bad thing, but I think it's also a good thing, criticizing myself.
You live in that space of being your harshest and worst critic, and it is a fine balance. That's why I asked, right?
Yeah, so it's hard because now in business places and spaces, I do discount myself or not even get myself the credit that I actually do know what I'm talking about. And that's taking time to build, to see myself differently. And I think that's something that I think we should do better in our athletic world, is that athletes, you're not just an athlete, and I'm not trying to downplay athlete, but I think athletes are more than what people give credit to, especially in track and field, where more than half of our body are educated at a higher level, meaning they walked away with a degree from college.
Right.
And so we have certain skill sets that the average public doesn't have due to the traveling overseas, managing time, motivating yourself, critical thinking, problem solving. Because as an athlete, you have an issue, you have to figure it out. Your coach can only help you so much. There's work that you have to do on your end. And so now I think if we just change how we really perceive ourselves as athletes, how we talk about ourselves as athletes, and hold ourselves accountable as being professional athletes, I think it would change how we see ourselves in other places and spaces, walking with that confidence. So that's what I'm going through right now. I'm picking out the skills, and I'm like, okay, if I did it over here, I can do it over here. So, it's just a little different.
So you're conscious of your skill set from an athletic standpoint, and then you're collecting your confidence on your journey through life.
But I feel like that's life in general.
Right.
You just don't wake up all of a sudden confident. If you did, you lying to yourself, right? And you're going to get your feelings hurt. But
it's true.
Yeah, but over time, to take it back from sports, when you first started doing high jump, running, sprinting, throwing, you're not confident. It's awkward. You're all over the place. You're trying to figure it out. But then as you keep doing it and the pieces start to fall together, then that confidence be like, oh, bam, I got it. I can do this. And you add a little bit more. And then you get to the point where you kind of have this unshakable confidence because you're sure in yourself. And I talk about confidence all the time. Confidence is really trusting that you can show up for yourself.
Without confidence in self, you're twice defeated in the race of life. With confidence, you've won before the race started. That's Marcus Garvey for y'all if you needed that. I'm full of all types of facts.
What you be calling me? What's my name? Who am I?
Brother Wallace Shabazz.
That was Dr. Erik Shabazz right there.
Brother Wallace Shabazz.
So I want to ask you about this. And honestly, you're talking about confidence. You're talking about, skills that you've acquired throughout your athletic career and how you can transfer them into the working. So what I ask, first question, did you ever think about these things whenever you were competing? And number two, I want to talk about retirement because I feel like a lot of these athletes don't think about this. And for me, retirement was one of the hardest things I ever did in my career.
Easily.
Yeah. So, all of us are retired, as of recently.
I think you're our first retired athlete that we've had on the podcast.
I think so, too. Yeah.
Okay.
Outside of ourselves.
Correct.
Okay. Go back to your first question because you done with
So were you thinking about the transferable skills and how to develop yourself in the workforce before you retired, or did that start after you retired? Or
Yeah, so I have always actually thought about it, to be honest, because I never saw myself as just an athlete.
That's what they do, huh?
No, this is just
it's just you.
This is just me.
Got you.
Before, people think that I breathe, live, shot. No, I wanted to own the daycare. I wanted to go to beauty school. Like I there was other things that I always wanted to do prior to coming to track and field. But then I got into track and field. I'm like, I'm actually kind of dope at this. Hey. Oh, I can travel overseas. I was traveling overseas by 10th grade. So life kind of redirected me. But the things that I've always loved, I never lost.
Gotcha.
But what happened was I got caught up in this world because it required my 110% focus that I had to put a lot of things on the back burner, and you kind of forget about it. And then when you're at a certain level, you can't afford to focus on anything else but track at that time. Mm-hmm. And so there were things that I had to kind of let go of and wasn't as sure of, but always had in the back of my mind. But I was like, you know what? If I do this right, it will set me up for later. But I always had my hands on something else, thinking about something else, listening to other things. Right. So when the time came, I was ready. But then the time came, nothing prepares you for the transition because I may have been prepared with things to do and to fill my time, but the emotional and mental toll that it takes on you that you have to process, and you can't even rush that process. Oh, yeah. And you don't know how it's going to happen. You don't know when it's going to happen. You could be sitting there thinking, I'm good. Life is going good. And then one day you wake up, you're like, what am I doing? Like, this don't even make sense. I'm so lost. So do you know? Like, do I go work out today? So, you know, it's an up and down thing. Yeah. So there's certain things I know that I need. I've been working out in track for 25 years, been an athlete for 30 plus years of my life. Working out is something I have to do. Yeah. So getting the routine just to still go to the gym, but do regular people stuff. Like I ain't trying to clean 1,000 pounds. And hold on, I'm gonna tell y'all this quick story, y'all.
No, you didn't go to the gym and try to do.
No, let me tell y'all what I did though. No, it wasn't even that. I was doing regular people stuff.
Regular people
stuff. But what happened was,
oh shoot,
I was like, okay, let me push myself, right? I'm feeling good, you know. And I said, I'm gonna do a little bit more lunges than normal. Knees on fire. I said, what happened? I ain't never felt this pain in my life. So I finally go to my physical therapist. I'm like, Tom, my knees, I don't know what happened.
Shout out, Tom.
And he said, oh, that's patella tendonitis. I said, patella tendonitis? I said, I've been an athlete for 25 years. Ain't never had patella tendonitis. Exactly. What is going on? I felt so defeated on the inside. I'm like, I'm getting old. My body don't want to work for me no more, you know? But it was just this whole transition of just relearning myself, who I am now, relearning my body for what it is now, and keeping moving.
That's the perfect way to put it, relearning yourself. I think a lot of times, you know, we don't realize that our growth is stunted through our experience athletically.
Right.
In certain cases, you don't know. You're in an ecosystem that is extremely small, right? And the environment in some ways is controlled to where everybody you interact with has the same interest as you.
Right.
In some way, right? So you don't even know who you are. Because you're so caught up in who you are as it relates to what you do, and then you reintroduce to yourself, and that's one thing that in my own transition, like obviously, I had a very serious injury, you know, which you know of, and Achilles tendon, and had to come back to the sport, and I was more at peace with my process because through the rehabilitation of my Achilles, I rehabilitated my mind. Right. You know what I mean? So it was like, I was the same in that I was always working on transitioning, and I got into coaching early, et cetera, and I was trying to figure out who I was outside of what I did because I understood the limitations involved with jumping, but I didn't understand the limitations involved with Erik.
Right.
And I think that's extremely important for you to communicate. And I thank you for that because it's an ongoing experience.
Yeah, it is.
It's an ongoing experience.
I'm switching gears ever so slightly. I'm going to make this a little bit lighter. Lightning round, real quick questions. You got me? You ready?
Okay.
First team.
Senior team or junior team?
Both.
Yeah.
My first junior team was, we were in Hungary. We were in Hungary. I was in 10th grade, my first youth team. And then I think I had my first junior team by the time I was. My first team, senior team, was 2008 Olympic Games.
Word.
2008.
I was at the trials. Celebrity Crush.
Mm-hmm. Usher. They called me.
Didn't he performing out here?
H-E-R.
Usher, baby. Yeah, he had a residency.
Are you going to watch?
I want to, but I ain't going to be here when the show.
Oh, when is the show?
Go. Friday night.
Just tomorrow
you
night?
know, I might have one tonight. I didn't need to.
Mr. Spearmon.
For the people that don't know where we are right now, we are currently in
Viva.
Yeah, Viva Las Vegas. All right, last question for you from me. Erik might have his own. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have a shot diva, and then you've bought a pet, an animal, a best friend. What?
Yeah, I got my baby. Her name is Diva. She's a miniature schnauzer. She's single. We're looking to have puppies.
Hey.
But yeah, I got me a dog. I've always wanted a dog. I grew up with
You
dogs.
shocked me with that one. I'm not gonna lie.
Which one?
When you actually got the dog, it shocked me.
It's her second dog.
No, this is my first dog.
it's her first
So the other dog that everybody
What was your
saw on
family
Instagram
dog?
is my daddy's dog.
Yeah.
So Ryder would come to practice all the time. So everybody thought Ryder was my dog, but no, Ryder is my daddy's dog. And so I got a dog, and everybody was pretty shocked. Like, you're too busy for a dog.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I really want one. I don't have no kids. It's just me.
Keep the dog.
Right?
Hold off on the kids.
Says
But
the man
yeah.
with two of them dogs.
I know. But I love my little Diva. Like, she's so smart.
Why does she hate windshield wipers?
I don't know. I think there was some trauma that she had before I got her. But
What did
y'all,
you do to that baby?
I didn't even know.
Secret
We was in
life
a
of
car
pets.
one day, and it started raining, and I turned the windshield wipers off. This dog darted from the back seat to the front seat, and she tried to attack the windshield wipers. I said, I'm going to send this video on America's Funny Home Video. I'm still going to do it because I know I'm going to win some money
You
off
gonna
of
win
that. 'Cause
something off of that.
It wasn't even about her. It was about how bad I was laughing in the background. I couldn't even control myself.
Lisa knew something. She had her sixth sense going. As a
She
pup.
sure did.
Okay, I lied. Last question. Favorite city you've traveled to while competing as a professional athlete?
Ooh. My favorite city is Monaco.
Ooh, big one.
And the reason why is because it's like unreal. Like the amount of wealth that's there and how people live their lives is just different. Like the city really doesn't open up and wake up until 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Why? Because you're going to be out all night. You sleep in the morning, take care of your meetings and the calls, and then you go out and have fun.
Yeah.
So it's
You can
like a
afford
fairy
it.
tale land. And I remember the first time I was in Monaco, we were sitting at dinner, and through the alleyway, this big long Lincoln comes through, and we're like, where'd you get this car at? We're in Monaco. This is an American car. He said, yeah, JFK, you know, the car that he got shot in? We was like, yeah.
This is it.
He said, not this one, the other one. I said, how much money you gotta have to buy his car,
Yeah.
number one, and then have it shipped all the way out to Monaco,
Right.
and you're driving it on the street on a Tuesday night. And so, like, I just like it because it's like an escape world for a minute. Like, you get to kind of escape from
Whatever the reality is. Of your
yeah,
life.
and you just, but I feel that way about traveling to Europe when we do what we do anyways. It's a moment for me to press pause on everything else in life and only focus on this one thing. I don't have to cook. Sometimes I don't even have to wash my own clothes because they'll come pick it up and
Right.
wash it and bring it back to you. Like, I get this moment of just like, okay, let me just focus on this one thing and focus on me.
Being
and
present,
yeah, and then I can come back to the rest of the world later.
Fantasy land.
So how do you find that escape now, right? So obviously you have, hobbies and you have your own podcast.
I do have a
Yeah, we gotta touch on that,
podcast
yeah.
called the Podium Life Podcast. You can catch it on all platforms.
Olympic gold medalist, world indoor champion 2016.
Teen.
I remember because the high jumping shot was right here.
Right there.
And we was just chatting the whole
Right.
time. We appreciate you, not only the impact of your athletic performance, but the continued impact of your presence in our sport and our ecosystem. And we're just very gracious to have you, and just hope that you continue to carry the mantle of both confidence and information on to the next generation. And just thank you for the impact you've had on us. And thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is amazing.
Always a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next time. Thank you for joining us. Michelle Carter. Peace.